Now, some milestones were reached this weekend for quarterbacks. So we had Tom Brady crossing 50,000 yards and Peyton Manning crossing 500 TDs. Okay, so now these are appropriate given that these are two guys that we've been talking about in the same sentence for all this time. So let's take a look at Peyton Manning's 500th TD.
Will this be history? Yes!
Okay. I hate Peyton Manning, and he was playing against my defense in fantasy football, so I couldn't have hated that TD any more than I already did. But congratulations to him. As I've said for 10 years in a row, as much as I despise Peyton Manning, clearly the best quarterback in regular season history by a million miles. Okay. In fact, let's put up the top 10 chart here for top TDs of all time, okay? So Peyton Manning is gonna pass Brett Favre. He will be number one. As you can see, he's almost there. Now, obviously, as you look at that list, you see, oh, look at that, Drew Brees at number 4, right? And, Drew Brees, great quarterback. I'm not sure a lot of people would have guessed him at number 4 of all time, right? Tom Brady, surprisingly, way below Peyton Manning, way below him, right? Fran Tarkenton's surprising. Come on, number 10, Vinny Testaverde. You crazy, dog? You crazy.
As you said, I mean, look, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning have been in the same sentence for this many years. And as you said, regular season quarterback. These things happen. There was that one season with Brady where he slung the football around and they went undefeated. That was his one season to sling around. He's not a 4 or 5 touchdown a game throwing type of quarterback.
That's the interesting thing. At the end of that season, if you had to guess who was going to get more touchdowns, more passing yards, Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, most people probably would guess Tom Brady. They figure he won a couple of Super Bowls. Yeah. He's got the record now. At that point, he'd already had 3 Super Bowls, right? And Peyton Manning's clowning, yada, yada. No, Manning pressed on the gas, and Bill Belichick decided that he was going to create a running team, even though he has one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, which is actually a monumentally stupid thing to do.
He's got to keep him guessing. And number 2, I'm sorry, they have the smallest wide receivers in the league now.
No, and that's
they went with 5'8" and under.
No, that's the thing, though. It's just so unfair to Brady. This is obviously going to lead to the conversation of who's better, Brady or Manning. But Brady has not had any goddamn receivers. Whatever receivers they had, they would just take and give it to Manning, like Wes Welker. Come on, goddamn it, this is beyond unfair. Anyway, let's go to...
Interesting point to make, though, in terms of this passing touchdown leaders. Tom Brady has 43 postseason touchdowns, and Peyton Manning has 37. Food for thought.
Yeah. How many Super Bowls do they have? Anyway, okay. All right,
he plays more games in the postseason.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, now, speaking of Tom Brady, let's go to his pass. I put him over 50,000 yards.
Now that's the difference. See, Rob Gronkowski, 6'5", 6'6", maybe? He's his biggest receiver as far as height.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, dude, I mean, come on, I'm not going to throw it down to the ground to these guys that are laying there looking like... waiting for the ball to hit the ground because that's their slant route, so they won't get their concussion flying over the middle. So that's his guy, that's how you get those, lately. That's how he gets those types of passes. There was no question if you wonder, so who did Brady pass to for his 50,000 yard passing?
It's got to be Gronkowski. Gronkowski, future Bronco.
Yeah.
As he will be, just to mess with Brady a little bit more. They're like, oh yeah, we'll take away 3 more of your linemen. And then your new receivers will be J.R. Jackson and Jenk. He's a little plodding, right? But he can catch the ball. All right. So now let's look at the list of top quarterbacks in terms of passing yards, top 10. Again, Peyton Manning will very likely pass Brett Favre. It'll take him a little longer. Drew Brees, really high on the list. Brady at number 6. And again, Vinny Testaverde. What in the world? I would have guessed Warren Moon, but in a million years I wouldn't have guessed Vinny Testaverde.
We have to look at the full stat lines, or at least all the points of this chart here. Look at the years that these guys played. Vinny Testaverde, that is why.
20 years bouncing around that league.
After 20 years, you amassed 46,000 yards. Yeah, it's a big accomplishment that you even last that long. I wonder how his brain feels right now. But as a matter of, 20 years, 7 teams, that's an accomplishment. That's the most startling stat, that whole line.
And that's a great point, Jared, because when you look at Drew Bledsoe, he's only been around 13 years. And remember, in a lot of those years, he didn't even start.
Yeah.
right? So
Bledsoe gave way for Tom Brady.
that's right. So that's his accomplishment in a lot of ways more impressive. And I'm also surprised that Bledsoe's in the top 10. By the way, guy who gets a lot of heat for sucking Eli Manning, as he did earlier this year before he turned back to being a good quarterback. No one's more up and down than Eli Manning. Only 50 TDs away from being top 10 of all time. I mean, 50 TDs is a lot of TDs, but are you sure he won't get there?
He's definitely going to get there. I mean, there's a lot more of this in Eli Manning's future. and it's going to go. It works out for him. I mean, I'm not hating on him. I think he still has this cloud of being that, sniveling kid who was drafted by the Chargers. And he said, no, not wearing that jersey. Not going to do it. Do you know who I am? Do you know my father's? Do you know who my brother is?
Yeah,
that was what he pushed. And everyone, there's not everyone, but there's this coalition of people who are like, yeah, I can't remember why I hate that guy, but I hate that guy. That's
funny.
why.
Now, I like him better than his brother, but that's not saying much. Okay, finally, who's better, Brady or Manning? Okay, now look, if Brady had won the 2 Giants Super Bowls, so Peyton Manning should be forever grateful to his brother. In reality, it probably burns him up that his brother has more Super Bowls than he does, but he should be forever grateful because if Brady wins those 2 Super Bowls, it's not a question. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time, bar none, right? But he did not win those Super Bowls. He's only got 3. Peyton's got 1. Well, no matter what I think about it, right? And clearly, Manning's numbers are better. And in the regular season, it's not a contest. But when you consider it overall, who's the better quarterback?
You have to see at the end of their careers. It's one of those things. If Manning had won last year in the Super Bowl, it's a big boost. Suddenly he's lost these couple of Super Bowls, all this stuff he's won is one, big deal. But it all depends on how it ends. Just last week, everyone was wondering, oh, where's Tom Brady? Oh, Tom Brady's done. Oh, what a horrible game. Oh, he's never going to throw another pass again.
Right.
It's so quick to change. And to say this season just went through like that for Brady, he just had a bad season, and it just goes that way. And, it kind of peters out for the rest of the career. People remember the last things you did, and they go, oh, yeah, Tom Brady wasn't that good. And they look at this list 10 years later, and they say, man, Tom Brady's on the list with Vinny Testaverde. I thought Vinny was so much better. So,
No, you're getting carried away.
It's just one I'm exaggerating, but it's one of those things where it's just a mental thing where you remember the last thing you saw rather than what you saw the whole rest of the time.
The only problem with that point, JR, is that it is indisputably correct, okay, leaving me nothing else to say. The jury's out, and this one's not over yet. You're right, if Manning wins another Super Bowl, then it's over. It's very likely to be Manning, right? But if Brady wins another Super Bowl and Manning continues to get happy feet in the playoffs and ends in an embarrassing fashion in the playoffs, then you got to say, well, I guess it was Brady after all.
Yeah. Think at the end of the story, if another Super Bowl surpasses Brett Favre, number one, win a couple Super Bowls,
Then it's not even close. Right.
When in reality, it still is.
Great point. And don't forget, Manning has had phenomenal receivers throughout his career. Yeah. Brady has had, generally speaking, horrible receivers throughout his career. The one time he had a quality receiver, Randy Moss, he broke every record in football.
It was ridiculous. Yeah.
So, I mean, imagine if Brady had good receivers throughout his career. Oh.